What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Today I have a fun video for you, one that I think is pretty unique. I actually haven't seen anyone else make this video yet, so hopefully I'm the first. Today we'll be ranking every male UFC fighter who lost a belt this year. Now, the only criteria for this list, and it's very self-explanatory, is you have to be a male UFC fighter and you had to have lost the belt at some point, whether you got it back or not. Without dragging things on, let's get into it. Coming in at 7th place is Bilal Muhammad. And to be honest, I didn't want to put him here. I was going back and forth between putting Bilal at 6th or 7th, but ultimately the reason I did put him in last place is because he is the only fighter on this list to have lost more than once this year. He had his unanimous decision loss to Jack Della Maddalena, and then another unanimous decision loss to Ian Gary at Fight Night Qatar. Now, it sucks that I had to put Bilal here because he didn't get dominated at all. I mean, he lost decisively to JDM. He had a much closer match against Ian Gary, and I feel for him as a fighter. I mean, he's a former champ, lost the belt this year, came back and lost again to another top prospect in the welterweight division, but unfortunately, he just couldn't keep up. Even with the eye pokes, I wanted to see him pull a win off against Ian Gary. I mean, he got eye poked twice. If the UFC did take points away from that, things could have been different, but unfortunately, Bilal just could not get it done. Two unanimous decision losses this year, so I do have to put him at last place. Coming in at 6th place, we have DDP. Like I said earlier, I was going back and forth on if DDP or Bilal should come in at 6th or 7th. Ultimately, the reason I went with DDP above Bilal is because Bilal has 2 losses this year, while DDP has at least 1 win. DDP won this year in 3-12 against former champion Sean Strickland, won by unanimous decision pretty decisively, I'd say, much better than their first fight. He also survived 5 rounds against Khamzat, which is very impressive. I mean, plenty of guys have tapped in the first round. Some guys didn't make it to the second. Some guys didn't make it to the third. DDP managed to survive 5 rounds against him, so that's a feat in and of itself. That's the good. Moving on to the bad. He did get dominated for those 5 rounds. I mean, Khamzat set 2 records on DDP. He has the record for most strikes in a fight at 527, even though 37 of those were significant. He also pinned him down for 21 minutes and 40 seconds, which set a UFC record. He put him in a crucifix 3 times. DDP just couldn't get out of it. You know, it made me think of that Justin Gaethje saying, if one man can hold you down, 2 can, you know what. I wanted to put Bilal a little higher, but DDP does have a win this year, so I just couldn't do it. And I really don't give DDP too much. I don't hate on him too much because Khamzat has done much worse to so many other people. I really don't think that taking a loss that way to Khamzat is something that many people, analysts, UFC fighters themselves, fans, etc., would get on you for. I mean, if there's anybody in the UFC that's gonna beat you by a smudge decision and you can still keep some of your pride, it's got to be Merab and Khamzat, man. I mean, there's nothing you can do to stop these guys, so DDP comes in at 6th. Coming in at 5th, we have JDM, and this is where I'd say things start to make a pretty noticeable turn for the better. JDM, he does have a loss this year, just like everybody else before him. That being said, he did have a dominant win over Bilal, a former champion. Outstruck him on the feet, boxing masterclass. He stuffed 6 out of 9 of Bilal's takedowns. I'd say that's pretty impressive. Bilal is definitely one of the better wrestlers in welterweight at the moment. I put him up there. Not as high as Islam or Shavkat, but he's definitely, just one tier below them, noticeably better than a lot of the other guys. That being said, he did lose to Islam Makhachev very decisively. Islam dominated him for that fight. It was impressive that he went the distance with Islam. I mean, Volk did go the distance with Islam once and then did not the second time. Poirier did not go the distance with Islam. Moicano did not go the distance. Oliveira did not go the distance. Dan Hooker did not. Bobby Green did not. Plenty of fighters in the UFC currently and retired fighters, ranked fighters did not go the distance with Islam. So the fact that JDM did is very impressive, I'd say. Even with Islam moving up weight classes, I think JDM definitely his wrestling defense wasn't great. Islam was 4 for 4 on his takedowns. That being said, on the floor, there were a few moments where Islam was going for subs and JDM just wouldn't let him. So I do think that puts him above the other two fighters on this list so far. And I think that JDM did have a pretty, I'd say of all the fighters who lost the belt this year, he's towards the middle for sure. Coming in at fourth, we have Magomed Ankalaev. Now, he's an interesting one. I mean, he did lose to Pereira at 320. There's that meme of him on the floor and him looking up at Pereira, and Pereira, put his hands down to him the same way he did Jamal Hill. That being said, I mean, that loss aside, he, in his first fight with Pereira, 313, he outstruck him. He had more total strikes. He had more significant strikes. He also won the distance with Pereira. That was the first time in Pereira's last 5 fights where the fighter went the distance. I mean, he has not had someone go the distance with him since his fight with Jan Blachowicz. He knocked out Yuri Prochazka twice, Jamal Hill once, Khalil Roundtree once. So the fact that Magomed Ankalaev not only outstruck Pereira, but lasted all 5 rounds with him is very impressive. I think that win, whether you think it was deserved or not, I know it was one of the more disputed wins this year. I think that alone brings him at least to the top 50%, I'd say, the top half of the list. What brings him down, in my opinion, is the fact that he lost at 320 so quickly. I know Ali Abdelaziz and his team came out and said he had a fractured rib or something. I don't know how true that was in relative to when the fight was. I know there was a video of him in the hospital. We just don't know how soon before the fight that video was actually taking place. But Ankalaev did have a pretty impressive showing in UFC 313. I don't know what happened in 320, but I've him at fourth for this list. Coming in at third place and taking the bronze medal, we have Alex Pereira. And now Pereira is the first fighter on this list where you can actually make an argument that he didn't lose a fight. He's one of 2 fighters on this list where you can make an argument that they didn't lose a fight this year. Obviously dominated Ankalaev at 320, laid him out, got that iconic picture of him with his hands out in front of Ankalaev reaching up, didn't know what happened, knocked him down, and just started hammer fisting him, in the first 80 seconds of the fight and winning, getting his belt back. That being said, the first fight, 313, was a little, not necessarily controversial, but it was disputed. If you go back and look at the UFC's official posting on their YouTube channel, a lot of people in the comments will say Pereira won rounds 1, 3, and 5, or 1, 2, and 5. I always forget, but people score it certain way. Some people say that even though Ank outstruck him, if you use like damage-based scoring, then Pereira clearly won that. Regardless, Pereira, whether you think he won or lost, he lost that fight via decision. It was a close fight, and then he came out in 320 and dominated Ankalaev the way he did. So he definitely takes the third place spot on this list at a minimum. I think if you have him higher on your list, I understand, but there's no way you have him under third. Coming in at second and taking the silver medal, we have Alex Pantoja. If Pantoja did not get injured in that fight with Van, this list may be completely different. I know he only has 2 fights compared to Merab, who has 4, spoiler alert, but Pantoja, man, I said in the last slide that there were 2 fighters, 1 or 2, that they do have losses on their records, but you could make an argument that they weren't actually beat this year, Pantoja obviously being the second one. Now, Pantoja, he does have that loss to Van, but despite that, he does have a finish win over Kai Kara-France, the number 4 ranked contender at the time. And thank God, man. Kai Kara-France came out with that goofy his tongue out, doing that dance, the Maori tribal, whatever it's called. Thank God Pantoja laid him out, man. If Pantoja lost to him, I don't know what I would have done. There was a shot mid-fight where Pantoja, between rounds 2 and 3, or 1 and 2, he was like standing still with his hands on his hips, all calm, ready to get back into the action. And they panned the camera over to KKF, and this dude was like, that goofy look was wiped off of his face. It was like a toned down version of JDM when he was fighting Islam. In between rounds, he looked just mentally dominated, just out of it, ready to go. I wish that Pantoja did not get injured against Van. If he didn't and he defended his belt successfully, this list would look different, man. I mean, it sucks what happened to Pantoja. It sucks because he just, unlike a lot of the other guys on this list, his loss was it was completely due to his injury, man. It wasn't like he got dominant. I mean, it was only the first round, like 20 seconds in, but he he didn't get dominated. Again, I know it's 20 seconds in, but he was technically up. He had more strikes, more significant strikes, but oh well, man. We just have to wait for the rematch. Coming in at first place, we have Merab Dvalishvili. Is there any surprise, man? This guy is Fighter of the Year contender, possible Fight of the Year nomination for Merab versus Sandhagen. Absolute masterclass. One of the best fights I've seen ever, not just this year. This guy's an animal. I mean, he beat Umar Nurmagomedov, which he was the underdog in that fight, beat him 3-2, depending on how you score it. Showed that his cardio is amazing. He's a menace. He's not just a guy that's going to hold the belt for, one, maybe two fights like a lot of the other bantamweight champions. Submission win over O'Malley, dominant unanimous decision win over Sandhagen. The only non-finish win on the main card of 320, and still, the second most entertaining fight on that card, I'd say. Lost to Peter Yan, who is a former champion. And I know there's that weird stat of Peter Yan going from like 0-3 or 0-4 to now being the champ. Those losses, sorry, were not really losses. I mean, his split decision loss to O'Malley should have gone the other way. His loss to Aljamain, I mean, that he should not have kneed Aljamain while he was down, but Peter Yan, his record is not what it should be. So that loss to Yan, it's not a bad loss at all. I mean, Merab he had the best 2025 of every champion who lost the belt. Still, in my opinion, Fighter of the Year. Possible Fight of the Year against Sandhagen. 3 amazing wins over top names, not just in bantamweight, but in the UFC as a whole. I mean, Sandhagen is a beast. Umar is, he's in the Dagestani Team AKA camp. He is someone that people were saying would be the future of the bantamweight division, the continuation of Khabib in bantamweight rather than lightweight. Win over O'Malley, who was champion as well. This guy, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next year. I truly believe that he can beat Petr Yan. With that being said, let me know what you guys think. If there's any fighters you would put in different places, let me know. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.